conversations conversation is a lost art, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We no longer feel comfortable having conversations with each other. We are more comfortable sending a text message or an email, and we end relationships and careers with that kind of shit right there. And I think it's bullshit, and I'm going to go on record saying it.
Yeah.
I endorse that message.
Well,
Anyway.
actually, we can tie this. Actually, we can tie this back into what you do, Perry, because you work in animation, right? Is it because of animation that these shows can get away with this shit on television?
I think it's because of their history. Not to say that, because some of these shows have been around for a while, but also I think they're changing to a certain degree. Like they're probably getting a little bit more sensitive to certain subjects. But, some shows like Family Guy and The Simpsons. Family Guy is probably the biggest, I don't want to use the word culprit, but they push the edge more than most other shows.
They definitely do.
And South Park as well. But they have a history behind them, and also it's like the writers are very savvy. They know what they're doing, and it's like the stuff they poke fun at, it's all poking fun at like psychology and human reactions to stuff, like how people act in certain situations. That's all it is. I mean, a lot of the stuff, comedy is usually based in some sort of reality as well. It's like there's a reason people are picking these stories to make funny little quips about, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's like it's the quirkiness of the human condition, and it's like the writers on these animated shows, they know better than anybody else. I also think they fly under the radar a lot of times as well, so.
Yeah, because I mentioned, I heard, do you know who Bill Burr is, the comedian?
Oh, I love Bill.
Bill's amazing. But he has his show on Netflix, and the name escapes me right now. But
F is for Family.
F is for Family. Thank you. And he mentioned that he's like, if I would have put some of the shit I said, where the father says shit to, you do that again, I'll put you to the fucking wall. He's like, if I translated that into like a sitcom, it's not funny. He goes, but if a cartoon dad leans down and said it has a whimsy to it,
Well, because Homer can literally strangle Bart, and their tongues come out and they make funny faces and stuff, and then they bounce back to their original position. They don't fall to the ground and die, and the ambulance comes and picks them up, and then there's a lawsuit, and it's like they bounce back.
Yeah.
And think of Tom and Jerry. Think about the stuff nowadays that wouldn't fly. That's the old, from the old days. Like half of the Chuck Jones cartoons, the old Warner Brothers stuff. These characters beat each other, they shoot each other, giant mallets, hammers, anvils, this and that. We all know this is a joke. I mean, if Elmer Fudd blasts Daffy Duck in the face with a elephant gun, it looks like, and his beak turns onto the top of his head, and he has to put it back on his face.
Yeah, that's so true.
It's like, we know that this is a joke, but now they take it like, oh, well, in case a kid goes and gets an elephant gun from the closet and does that, it's, there is, I hate to say it, some parenting that has to be involved. If your kid is that susceptible, then you should watch these children, not let them watch it. But
yeah,
there are cartoons. You can't always blame something all the time. It's always a video game. It's always music. It's always something that's responsible for why people act the way they act, rather than they're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. You know what I mean? It's like, sometimes it's people. I've witnessed a lot of people that have had problems in their life, and anything would have triggered it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And, to go a little further with this, my theories on this, like blaming art in any way for the violence or the condition that's happening in the world, you could go back in time and it's like, look at Jack the Ripper, for example. There were no guns like today anyway. He had it was such personal murders, like the stuff he got involved with. He was intimately involved. He killed these, prostitutes and cut them open and everything else. Sorry to be gross about it, but this sort of stuff has been going on forever. There was no movies and TV shows and video games and rock songs or whatever. Something twisted this guy's mind. It's been going on since caveman times. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's more like being able to control ourselves and logically think things through. And obviously that's why there's ratings on stuff. If someone's too young to really understand something that's going on, you let them get a little older before you explain this stuff to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Well, it's
I'm a
pretty-
gamer. I grew up a gamer. I tell my daughter all the time. She'll ask me something. I'm going, nah, darling, you haven't leveled up there yet. You got to wait until you get a little higher. You know, and she laughs and we move on with that. But I make it clear you're absolutely right. And some people do need to set boundaries and go, no, kid, you don't need to play Doom Eternal. You're 5, you know?
Yeah. Well, but I mean, Perry, you've been working on edgy projects your whole career, really, right? You know what I mean? You worked on Family Guy, and that was considered really edgy as far as the kind of comedy that it had involved in it, which was fantastic, by the way. But I mean, you've done all kinds of stuff. That's edgy? Even I would say, you know, Animaniacs and Bob's Burgers, those were kind of edgy on some levels. Is what you're working on now going to be edgy, or do you think that they've pulled it back?
They may, from what I've seen so far, it's like they may have pulled things back a little bit. I haven't really noticed anything at this point. You know, currently I'm on Beavis and Butthead. It's you know, coming back on Paramount Plus. They're doing a movie and then they're doing a series. But from what I've seen, it's like they're the same characters that they were. You know, they're dumb, you know, like metalheads. They're like, you know, look like they're all hopped up on goop or something all the time. You know what I mean? So it's like they're still them. They haven't completely cleaned this up. So I think it'll hold true. But all of these shows, it's like they might watch things, you know, something here and there and like tone things down a little bit. But for the most part, they are what they are. People know what they're getting into when they watch that show or South Park or Family Guy. And, you know, for me personally, it takes a lot to really offend me to,
Right.
you know, working on the Family Guy stuff. It's like, yeah, you got to draw some choice stuff. I didn't write on any of the shows really. So it's like, you know, the only stuff I wrote on was like some kid shows, but yeah, these shows, it's like, I don't know, it's fun drawing edgy stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm glad my proudest moment was drawing which made it into the show, I think, in a different format, but the original drawing I did in my storyboard was, it was a statue of R2-D2 making love to Gwyneth Paltrow.